for our Pro Goal Line Blitz Pro tier review. We'll quickly check to make sure that this is streaming properly. While we wait for our guests. No Dr. Edgar today. He is working. Adder's going to be a few minutes late. He's on a call, but hoping to be joined by Raid, LX, and Hero. LX and Hero. There we go. Perfect. Looks good. All right. So today we're going to look at the Pro tier. There's only 7 human teams in this tier. Eddie Donovan is the newest of the coaches in this tier. The rest of us have been playing for a while. There's been a little bit of a shakeup. There's a little bit of a shakeup in the standings. I originally was going to do the top teams, which were Stream Team, Kentucky Mountaineers, and the Boston University Terriers. But with Atomic City most recently beating Boston University, there was a little bit of a shift, pushing Dallas Cowboys up to 3rd. So I think we're just going to do one stream today. We'll do the veteran stream tomorrow. We'll look at the top 5. I really do want to. I'm selfishly glad that Dallas made it up to 3. I DC for Dallas. I want to, but I do also want to take a little attention to Atomic City and Boston University Terriers. So while we wait for my co-commentators to join me, I'll just fill time a little bit. I guess I'll give yesterday we did the journeyman tier, right? And I asked on the stream, I reached out to DL Kurt and asked if I could have the opportunity to offensive coordinate a little bit for his NW Dragons, and he has allowed me to do so. So this morning I got a quick scrimmage in against the almighty Riff. And yeah, they are who we thought they are, right? That commercial from, was it Tony Dungy? They are an incredible team. I cannot wait until Vet to see Riff versus Spamalot, 2 powerhouse teams. So let's see. I'm waiting. What would be a good use of our time? Yeah, when you watch this, more of you watch the videos on demand when I post them up to YouTube than live. I apologize that I don't have a more regular schedule, but being a school teacher, I am on break this week. So usually when I'm on break and summer break, I can do a lot more content. But I'm never really scheduled because I'm also a dad, and a husband. And this is GLB2, and streaming is only a hobby for me. So I apologize that you can't catch me more regularly, but I do appreciate all of you that watch my content. I hope that you find it entertaining and educative, right? Um, and I'm also thankful for my my co-commentators, right? I wholly believe that uh, when I have these guys on with me, that it makes for a better stream. In the future, I would love to get some other people on. All you need to do is just hop on the voice channel in Discord. Oh, somebody just joined us. Hello. Uh-oh, did I lose somebody? I've got so many different tabs open.
No, I
Oh, there
just
we
jumped
go.
in.
Awesome. I do not recognize voices, and I've got different screens open. So if you could introduce yourself to me and the people that are going to be watching this video, either live or on demand, that would be awesome.
This is Ray.
Raid, good to see you, my friend. Glad you joined us. We'll wait a, a scotch more to see. Adder said he was going to be a little bit late. Edgar cannot join us today. I sent out the bat signal to LX, and the reason why we're doing this at 12:30 is Hero said that that's like when he has his prep block or whatever. I guess he's not on break like I am right now, so I'm gonna wait a hair more before we begin. I am going to. I think I might do this a little bit out of order instead of going 1, 2, 3. Right. I'm gonna wait. The number one team is our stream team, right? But I would really like to wait until hopefully LX and Adder can join us. So I'm going to put the stream team on pause. I think we'll begin in a few minutes, in a minute or two, with Kentucky. And then we could look at Dallas, where we're just going to do this stream today, and we're going to do Vet tomorrow. I also want to shine a little light on Eddie Donovan's Boston University Terriers because I think they're a good story, and discuss Ty Davis and his Atlantic City Community College team. Should be fun. So, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing all right. Just settling in for the day, so it's a good time to do this for me.
Awesome, good. I'm so glad that you were able to join us on this one. I did not intentionally leave you or anybody out in the previous ones. I'll try to do a better job of posting up when I plan on streaming. So because I really do enjoy having you and the other guys on. And as I was saying a little bit earlier, I don't know if you caught the beginning of the stream. I'm going to reach out to some people that aren't necessarily, regulars with us, but I'd love to, get them on. I don't know if I'm going to do it as like a spotlight on them or on their team, or just invite them, to come into one of our streams. But I think that would be kind of fun, we have a small enough community, so I might as well try to get more people involved.
Absolutely, it's always nice to have the input of some of the players who have been here for a while.
I hope that our target audience, right, the newer coaches, the lesser experienced coaches, are A, watching these videos, and B, getting something out of them. I've got a lot of positive feedback from the veterans, saying excellent content, great stream. I don't think I've heard anything from any of our lesser experienced coaches, and largely this is for them. I mean, we get a little bit of enjoyment out of it, hanging out together and discussing dot football, but the main intent, I think, for all of us is trying to share our knowledge, with the community, to make it a more fun and competitive community. So I'm hoping that we're not doing this for nothing.
No, I think that there's a benefit to it. Especially especially to newer people, like you said, it's sometimes difficult to see the feedback from those kind of users, especially because they're less likely to actually speak up. They're less likely to be engaged in the first place. So hopefully, they're still at least getting their information out of it. And if nothing else, the people who are still kind of learning, that are hanging around the community, that may still know some things. There's still information that's going to be covered here that can benefit them. I know there's things that I've still learned from listening to the other guys talk. So,
oh, me too, me too. And one of the stories we're going to talk about today, Eddie Donovan. His team was number 3 in the tier until just what, today or yesterday. He is an excellent story of a new, relatively new player coming on and studying the game and listening to the sage, what's the word I'm looking for? Recommendations from the veterans, and he's doing well. So I'm looking forward to talking about. You know what? Why don't we start with the Boston University Terriers then? Let's take a look at them, because I think what he's doing, 6-3 is their record, right? If we look here, right, that most recent loss to the community college bumped him out of 3rd, right? He played your second run team pretty tight there, 20 to 17. Right? Yes, pro. Are you Journey?
Yeah, we're journeyman.
All right. So, all right, but still, I think that's a good game. Second run is not, and not a slouch of a team, So, even though he came out on the short side, no, he won. Sorry, I'm looking at his thing. So, and then he did have a loss to Detroit Bling. I think that's a game they should have won. And a pretty big loss to the Cowboys. But the Cowboys are they're the reigning champs right now. So if we look at their record, not too shabby, right? And then if we look at his roster, come on, internet, right? This is what's even more impressive. My mouth was like agape when I dug deeper and I started looking at his roster, right? Not only does he have a good number of CPU players here, right, at the pro level, right? He's got journeyman, right? He's got journeyman players on this team as well, and I think he only has one superstar. So for him to be hanging in these games at this level, like he is, hats off to Eddie. Before I had you give your input, I want to just quickly hop over to the scout, right, and show you why I think he is hanging in there, and why I say he's studied the game and listened to veteran players. Scout will show this in a second. Let's see here. All those notes are good. And all right, so let's look at his offense, okay? Number 1, right? A fairly balanced offense, right? Which we've talked about, that a balanced offense can be good because it's a coin flip. What are you gonna defend against? He's running inside and outside. The one thing that I might suggest to him is to add some off tackle runs, right? Possibly in there. Off tackle is good. If we look at his choice of outside runs, big eye, trip. Those are some really that outside running package. Those are some of the best outside runs in the game right now, unless you build for other specific runs. And the passes, right? You recognize those passes, Raid? Those are some pretty consistent passes.
Yeah, those are. It's a lot of good tight end spam plays that I've seen used on my team before.
So, with that said and done, I kind of pointed out the stuff that I wanted to point out. Raid, is there anything? And if you don't have anything on the Terriers, that is okay. I mean, I did my homework. I should have, given you guys just some notes ahead of time. But if there's anything you want to say, you did play against them on the ladder, right? So if there's anything you want to say, if not, we will move on to the Mountaineers.
Actually, just first and foremost, I'd like to welcome Alex and Adder to the stream since they just jumped in here.
Oh, hi guys! Hey, and thank you for telling me that, Raid, because I've got so many tabs up, I can't tell when people hop in unless they speak up. So thank you for letting me know that we've got. So actually, then we can jump right up to stream team after anybody. Alex and Adder, we're just looking at Eddie Donovan's Boston University Terriers. If you guys have anything you want to add before we hop up to, now that we have you here, before we hop up to stream team, please feel free to steal the mic.
No, I'm good at least. I just didn't want to break your stride, so.
Yep, I was doing the same thing. The only thing that I'd point out for Eddie Donovan's stream team, a newer coach, and looks like he's getting his stride with this, so happy for him. I know he was looking for help on stuff previously, but he's doing pretty dang good, so.
Did you guys see his roster? Were you on when you looked at that roster? Or want me to show it to you again?
You said it was just the one super, right? Where's he for that?
Look at this roster, man. Not only one super, a lot of CPU, journeyman on pro team, and the super is a free safety.
Free safety is a really good position of super.
Yeah. But I'm amazed that he is able to compete, and this is a compliment to Eddie, that he's able to compete with this roster at this level. And if you look at the it's a small tier, but like if you look at this tier, right? It has no. Let me go to the tier list, not the actual league, right? Look at these coaches. Okay, Mighty Matt, that's my team. That's the stream team. That's our team, right? Myrek, Dallas Cowboy fan. Ty's been around. Czar's Growing Victory's been around. He is by far the least experienced coach in this bunch, and he has studied the game and he has listened to veteran advice, and this is what we want to see. This is like why you guys created the Academy Discord, GLB2 Academy, and it's certainly why I stream, is so that we can bring younger coaches like Eddie along, and it's great to see the success that he is having.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you can tell either he's a very smart cookie or he's listening to advice, because if you're going to super just one position on defense, free safety is a position to do that. So clearly he's getting good advice from somewhere.
I was going to say the play calling has been fantastic on his part. It's been a good mix. He's been attacking the right places. His offense seems to have, enough traction to it where he needs to be able to actually make plays happen there. And then his defensive play calling has been pretty point on. So overall, it's a very strong team for the kind of roster that he has on it. But
I would ask, because I haven't paid too much attention to the pro tier this season. Is he running man, zone, hybrid?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's look at that's the Cowboys.
Superstar free safety makes me instantly think man team. But maybe he's not.
He was pretty much, I think, only man when I was facing him.
Yeah, he's all man, and he's got a mix of blitz and no blitz.
I would say too that that's the right way to do it. By the way, like if you're a newer coach, even if you like zone, cut your teeth with man, because man can do a whole lot more game planning wise than zone can do. Zoning is a lot more about like how well do you understand how zone works and how well do you understand builds. But man no matter how bad your players are built, if you call the right plays on man, they'll get the job done.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I gave him a little bit of tutelage in the beginning. So he is a former student of the school of A Germ 73. I'm glad that he actually took to heart some of the lessons that I taught him. So, and there's so much more to learn. As Raid and I were talking earlier, these streams that we're doing, right? Even we as veterans are learning from each other. So there's just such a wealth of knowledge being shared. So we touched on this yesterday. It's such a great time to be playing this game. So hopefully we can get people like Eddie to stick with it and get more people to come in. God, I'd love to see it revived back to the old days.
Yeah, I agree.
So, with that said, unless anyone else has anything else they want to say about Boston University, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 stream team coaches here. So let's look at the stream team. Number 1 in the tier at the moment, right? Lost the heartbreaker to the Dallas last season.
Yeah.
Looking for a little revenge this season. Before we move up to the big bad vet and have so and have to face Spam-A-Lot maybe, and then another season after that, the dreaded Riff.
Yeah.
So with that said and done, let's look at the roster first. For actually, you know what? Let's talk about Stream Team first, and then while I'm pulling up the roster. So Stream Team is my son's account. So we put Stream Team together during the summer with the intent of being able to actually stream games and use it as to educate the community, right? And we brought along some pretty damn fine coaches, if I do say so myself, right? In Dr. Edgar, Raid, Adder, and Alex. Yeah. So that's one thing you got to understand about the stream team is why it was built. Unlike some of the other teams, right? Like the program, like Riff, we didn't do a whole lot of pre-planning here. It's like I encourage everybody just build your dot, and we're just gonna have fun with this. But people built well-built dots, and it is a well-coached team. And another thing that I think that goes in our favor is, I call defense, Alex calls the defense. I've had Dr. Edgar call the defense, right? Raid calls the offense, Adder calls the offense. I've called the offense. I'm not sure if Alex has called it yet either, but so we mix stuff up, and we all have our own different coaching styles. So I think that makes it challenging for teams to scout us because they don't know what they're gonna get. So before we look at the roster, I'm gonna stop hogging the mic, and I'm gonna pass it around. I'm just gonna go kind of in the order that I have names here. So, Raid, is there anything that you would like to say? You are. So far this season, you've predominantly run the offense for us, and I totally appreciate it, and it sounds like you're having a lot of fun. So is there anything you'd like to say, Raid?
I absolutely am having a lot of fun. I'd also like to say hi to Temujin, who jumped in with us here. I don't know if he's...
That is, yes, Temujin, or more affectionately known as
Hero. Yeah, what's up, guys?
Glad you were able to join us, Hero.
Yeah, man.
Hero, okay.
So Raid was just we reviewed Boston University Terriers, Eddie Donovan's team, and now we're looking at the number 1 team in pro at the moment, Stream Team. And Raid has been OCing for us, so he's gonna continue. I'm gonna go through LX Adder, and then I'm gonna have you take Dr. Edgar's place. You seem to know him well, and you can comment on make any comments after these guys. So Raid, go back at it, my friend.
All right. Well, the team has been an absolute joy to take over the offensive reins for because of how well people have put together their builds. We've got a lot of just straight catching power in our receivers and tight ends. It makes it really easy for us to set up a nice deep to medium passing game to complement our running game, and that's the real cornerstone of this offense is how the offensive line is just really good at holding up and giving our passing game the time that it needs to develop because our runners are both very focused on getting to the edge or getting outside as much as possible. And that, it's difficult to do that on top of being good at passing, and our line is doing a very good job at that. We have, I wouldn't say that we're like the most prolific running up the gut, but, with our two runners being as quick and mobile as they are, it makes it really easy to do that too. So I really can't go wrong when I'm planning anything for this team. So it's just been fantastic.
And actually, I'm going to have Adder go before Alex because Adder last session, last year, you did a lot of OCing for us, and you're welcome to take turns with Raid. Although I think he's having a lot of fun. Do you want to talk a little bit about the offense or anything, Adder?
Yeah, the main thing I want to touch on is all of these builds, like Raid is saying, they just work. They're good builds, and they give a lot of flexibility. The tight ends can block, they can catch. The wide receivers catch, and then they all do something different on top of that. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And then with the two halfbacks, that's actually probably the thing that I like the most about the offense. Is normally you see one superstar halfback, and I think having the two of them has made a big difference, especially at the lower tiers.
If I can interject.
Yep, go ahead.
I would say, I am a firm disbeliever in spellbacks to the exclusion of if you get a normal back built by Raid, you take that halfback. I disagree with Raid about super halfback builds all the time. I cannot touch Raid's normal halfbacks. They are perfect. Literally perfect.
So that's pretty high praise.
Excellent segue to Alex now. And Alex, if you want to talk about, you can talk about the whole team, but particularly the defense, because again, last I leaned on you and Adder pretty heavily to OC and DC last session, and so you have a pretty good working knowledge of this defense. If you want to talk about the defense a little bit.
Sure. I mean, the D-line itself is really good. It's solid builds across the board, really kind of anchored actually by GE's defensive tackle, which has been a stud the whole way going up. And then we have two nasty defensive ends. They're spin ends that have performed really well the whole time, which really anchored us. The one thing I would say that we do lack would be pursuit in our secondary, which can get us into trouble with outside runs, which has been kind of a struggle sometimes. And that's to the point that I would make there would be that usually, especially defense benefits from doing a scheme structure of I want these players to do this thing, and then therefore, because they're built like this, I'm going to build this other layer of my defense to cover up their weaknesses. We have incredible builds across the whole defense, but they don't have that layering that a more formulaic team might have, which means that the wins this team gets, it gets through coaching primarily as opposed to just relying on its builds.
Excellent. So, Hero, I know that you were not part of this team. I think that because you had taken a little hiatus from the game, I think that we certainly would have recruited you had you been around. But is there anything that you would like to say? I know you're new to this stream, to our stream, so we welcome you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, take it away, bud.
So, just a question for some of you guys. I see you got some CPUs in there. Are they off the depth chart, or do they actually take snaps in game?
Generally speaking, CPUs will play on special teams.
Okay. Yeah, I was asking because, right, if they didn't, and you could sneak some low contracts in to kind of boost high contracts elsewhere on some of your other players, right? But yeah, if they're seeing the field, then you got to leave them at least medium. So.
And just by the by, in case anyone doesn't know this, who just happens to be listening to this, CPU players are 5% cheaper than human players. So if you're not going to use a player and you just need a body, a CPU is always the right choice. You can build teams with CPUs on it that you physically cannot build with players, even if you have them both on low contract. And that's the big reason to use CPUs.
Yeah, huge point that I think a lot of new users will be able to take advantage of. But yeah, so that's kind of something I was seeing. But then yeah, I mean, you guys vets know where to put the stars. So that's the other thing I think. New users or even experienced ones that are struggling. When some of these top teams, look where the stars are being used, right? It's a really important aspect of the game that gets kind of overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're getting more to the point where, fortunately, every position is getting its own time to shine. But certainly for a long time, it's been, get your tight end, get your halfback, get a free safety. After that, it's just kind of, whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah, and or experimenting with things, right? Like I'm sure other people have done it. I've done the entire O-line, superstar O-line, and see how that does, and, some different ways. But yeah, if you're going to be with a balanced team, that's, just like anything, know where to spend your money. And make it all cohesive. So obviously with this group of coaches, you guys probably have that cohesion down. So that's nice.
Yeah, like with this team, as has been said, solid builds, and we did not, unlike the program and Riff and some other teams that were put together with a lot of extensive planning in the beginning. That was not the plan here. The plan here was I was going to use my network of experienced agents, and I reached out to my people that I knew know how to build great dots, and specifically in certain positions, and asked them if they would help me out with this. And that's kind of how this came together. I have no doubt could be even more of a powerhouse if we did some of that planning ahead of time. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've got a program, that I like to do that pre-planning, and so this was a good experiment. I'm very, very proud of it. Anyone else want to say anything about the Scream team before we move on to Kentucky? Before we go to Kentucky.
I'm devastated by the change they made to wide receiver. They've been great for the game, but Pudge Battle was not built for a speed meta. He's built to catch in traffic and then break tackles, but now he's slow, he doesn't get targets anymore, and catching traffic is terrible compared to just being fast now. I'd be better off if I had built him like the old Trogzor build, just 90 sprinting, 100 power running, and just send him downfield every play. But we'll see. Maybe things will get better for him as we go.
I know. I think you were clairvoyant or something, because in the beginning, you were saying "Oh, this is just a horrible build. I'm just gonna break it. Just gonna break him, and blah 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 blah." And he turned out to be pretty damn good pre, changes, and he's still pretty damn good. We just have to use him differently, than I think you had intended because of the changes. But
he's still built his superstar status is just to make him into a power runner, right? He's still just got a normal catch and traffic receiver build otherwise. So it's always just kind of worked. But, now being faster would have been better. I still have the free respec. I can always adjust him, but I'm going to hold off and see if it, changes don't get made or what have you.
Yeah, you might want to do that going into vet, because there's going to be a whole shit ton of competition in vet. There's not as much. No disrespect to anybody in this tier, but I think that the top two teams, even beyond Myrick's Kentucky Mountaineers, I think so far the top two teams in this tier growing up have been Stream Team and Dallas Cowboys. 1 and 2. Mountaineers, we found ways to beat the Mountaineers and Czars, his team. So, but it's going to be a whole new ball game, as you guys well know, when we get to bet.
Yeah, so one thing I would also tell new coaches is don't put too much effort. Like, it's great to beat the opponents in your division, right? Like, if you can get a ring, get a ring. But if you're tailoring your whole team around beating one singular team on your way up, you might be in for a rude awakening when you hit bet, and that team may no longer even be in your league, and you built your whole identity around stopping them. So something to keep in mind.
Or, Riff could just follow you the entire way and just play you every fucking time.
Take all your rings, yeah, that's also possible too. And also I would say too that, leagues tend to 1 to 2 top dogs. It's rare when you get 3 or 4 all at once on the way up, and rarer still to have a competitive league truly true parity all the way up. I've only seen it one time in 16 seasons with Sun League. And outside of that, it tends to be 1 to 2, maybe you get 3 or 4, but in bet it really changes.
Well, if I could go back just for a second, I really wanted to focus on the defensive tackles that we had there.
Sure.
Because I think that's been a huge part of our success, and it's been largely because I didn't think that my guy would do as well as he still has been. Like, he's never been a stats guy. Like, that's never what the Chaos DT build was about. But when Absolute Unit came around and everyone started to grab that, all of a sudden that build became useless. Like, absolutely useless. Like, I just stopped using it completely. And this has been the first time in a while that I've actually pulled it back out again, and it's been working. It's been working pretty well. I don't know if the ability is weaker now, Absolute Unit, or if just less people have it in general. But
I think when Absolute Unit first came out, a lot of people were afraid of teams like Riff and Brood, and were looking for a solution. And Absolute Unit to them seemed to be that solution. So a lot of teams went that direction. Of course, a lot of them now realize that doesn't help. A schemed defensive line that's all superstars is going to do what it does, and there's not much you can do about it. And so I think people have moved back away from it again.
Well, it absolutely killed my build, and so I'm just glad to see that it's been, revived a little bit. And, being there with Cybertron's DT and the other, great DTs that we have, or the, Dallas DT and the other great DEs we have there that have just really been able to get the openings that they need to because of how much the inside has just been pinned down.
Yeah, I agree. I think the defensive line does so well, not because of any one particular build being good. It's because all of them are just flat out good builds, and that's what you need to have when you're rushing the passer. Because you have one guy who's amazing and 2 dudes who aren't, you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
I am noticing that some people need to spend some skill points, though.
None of my players.
I'm gonna have to get on the phone with GE and his ear. That's just unacceptable. Superstar anchor of our defensive line with 5,000 skill points left to spend.
What's outrage?
GE.
By the way, can we get a petition or something for him to bring GE back?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see GE back.
Not in the forum.
Cybertron is a nice, much. Yeah.
Cybertron is a reformed GE. We don't need GE.
All right, let's move on to. I'm going to just quickly move on to the Mountaineers, but I just cut somebody off. So while I'm doing that, whoever I just cut off, my apologies. Take it away.
I was only going to mention about Absolute Unit and it going away. I was going to say every time I made a D-line recently, I've been like, do I want to take shed block? Because if I take shed block, every O-line knows to take resolute nowadays. And then my shed block SA doesn't do anything because resolute just counters it. So then should I not take it? And then the more people that are going to make that call, the more O-lines are going to see, nobody's going shed block anymore. I guess I can let go of resolute now. And then the cycle starts up again, right? People start taking shed block. Then you need to take resolute. Like everything kind of just pendulums back and forth when it comes to SA choices. Like I dropped closing speed off of like 2 or 3 of my teams, and then spam block came around and I'm like, fuck. I don't have closing speed, I can't beat this team. Now I have to have closing speed on every team again.
Yeah, my initial plan for Sedgorp was to have no closing speed in the secondary, and the whole change that I was making to make that possible was just taking a whole bunch of speed everywhere. And well, I mean that's one way that you can approach it, because as long as you've got a decent amount of speed going everywhere and collapsing down on things, you're not using like aggressive pursuit, then you can get to the point where 60 or 70 pursuit is enough, and you can actually use those points for other places in your build when you're distributing your initial points, getting yourself a little bit stronger, a little bit more technical, anything else you need to.
Yeah, I would always say that too, that people who are playing new teams, be ahead of the curve, right? If you think an SA is about to go out of favor, then be the first one to do it, right? Because if you're right, it's going to benefit you greatly.
Yeah, that's hard for the newer players, though. I mean.
Oh yeah, you're not going to know. This is more for like you've done a run, right? Like everyone should do a run up to vet and get a feel for the game if you have a real team, and then on your second run, feel out how you feel about the meta and things like that, where the game's going. And before that, you made a great point too. Hang around rookies for 2 or 3 seasons. You can learn so much from just playing as rookie, and it's cheap, and you can do it all with no supers. Like, that's what you should be doing.
And I think someone made a good point. Or they were talking about, they were talking about the other day about czars and the paying for GLB2 Scout, but also trying to like hook up newer, lesser experienced coaches like with a vet. We're not going to, the days of us like doing it for you. Like, no, we will show you, we'll coach you how to do it. We'll teach you, but that's huge too. And is someone said that yesterday? I forget who that was, but it might have been Adder. Was it you, Adder, or was it Dr. Edgar? Yesterday that we talked about czars.
Yesterday is a long time ago. I don't remember.
All right, so let's look at Kentucky. Right, Kentucky owned and coached by Myrick Justicar. He is OG, right, for sure. A legend. Yep, one of the best coaches in the game. So we're gonna look at these days. He's what amazes me about Myrick is, the guy has so much knowledge that like he's playing less these days than he did in his heyday, but because I'm in a Madden football league with him that he's doing a shit ton for. So I know he's not playing as much, but he still wins. But it's when we were talking on other 4 things about some of the old school. I forget which one it was. We talked about them like with their old school rosters, basically, and so this is kind of a good example, right? I mean, on offense, right? This is Myrick's formula: superstar halfback, probably using the same build as used for the past few years. Superstar tight end, superstar wide receiver, right? And he's putting his supers on the defense, right? Look at that defensive line, right? Couple super LBs, 1 super CB. We talked about the value of a super CB and a super safety. So I'm going to let you guys talk while I bring up their scouting so we can look at some of the plays that he calls. But so go ahead, guys.
Well,
Talk
when
about
it comes
Myrick and
to
his Mountaineers.
Hey guys, I gotta hop off. It's been a pleasure. I gotta go teach some football to some 7th graders.
Have fun,
That's
man.
fine.
Thank you for joining us, Hero.
Hey guys.
Bummer, I'm bummed he has school because I was excited to have him join us. But anyway, so guys, talk about Myrick and his Mountaineers.
I was going to say, if there's been one coach who I butted heads in terms of like approach to the game with, it would have been Myrick. He is an absolute student for finding what works. He is good at scouring the forums. He's good at talking to other people. He's good at putting his head together with other coaches to find exactly what has worked and what continues to work. And it's impressive. Like, I mean, it's not that he doesn't innovate in different ways, because he has been, on the cutting edge of some things. It's just been that he really has a head for going after the things that are proven and finding, the builds that just kind of will work and utilizing them to the fullest that he can.
I think we're very similar, but he's better than me.
Yeah, I agree that what Red said, just so good. And I also say too, one thing about Myrick that's different is you'll see a lot of zone teams, right? They emphasize big hits, interceptions, right? But I'm going to be a slower plotting guy. I'm going to rely on the swarm. There's kind of like, they'll all be kind of in the air. Myrick's zone doesn't work that way. Myrick is a fast, lean zone. And it's very different than a lot of like the GE, the Ganema zones. They don't work that way, right? Like, he's kind of got his own thing he does with zone. But he makes it work.
That's how we are different, Myrick and me, is that I am absolutely horrible at zone. No matter how many times I've tried to learn from Myrick and Ganema, I fall flat on my face every single time I try to create a zone defense.
Yeah, I mean, even them, they're so different. I remember when the zone happened, I don't know, 6 seasons ago, whatever, and it completely destroyed Myrick, and Ganema was stronger than ever. You're like, okay, well, that's weird, But I'll say, too, for Myrick, his free safety in particular, it's built like a man free safety. It's this fast, like, headhunter type of free safety, and you won't usually see zone defenses invest in their safeties. Safeties are an afterthought. They don't really do a lot for a zone. But I remember the first time I actually sat down and watched Myrick's replays, and I watched his free safety move around the field. It literally changed how I thought about man. And, like, I would say it was actually the catalyst for how the original riff turned out, was seeing that free safety because of how much it warped my perception on, like, what a playmaker looks like at that position and how you can use that.
Yeah, his free safeties are total playmakers. That's a good call. Anyone else want to say anything about the Mountaineers? I'm actually, let me go first while I get the scout up. So his offense, balanced offense, I love it, right? As Alex was talking about earlier, right? Myrick's a student of the game. He finds the plays that work, and when he's full blown scouting, right, a team, he finds their weakness and he plugs those plays. He plugs those plays in there, and then So, anyone else want to say anything about Kentucky?
I'll also say, too, we have to watch Kentucky because right now, they're third in the tier, but Myrick famously sleeps on the way up to him. And then he gets his act together, So this could go from being a third in the tier team to all of a sudden it's sitting at the top of that, and it was unbeatable, right? Yep. Because his level of investment changes dramatically at that point.
Don't poke the sleeping bear.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's because he takes such a speedy approach to defense. It makes it hard for him to get all of those secondaries kind of up to the points where he needs to.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, right? Like if you're doing a Ganema zone, right, this big, heavy, slow, plotting zone team, well, that works around the box, right? Again, was one rookie playing a zone like that. Like, you can make that work. Speed costs, right? Like, speed takes a ton of points, and it takes a long time to get to a high enough point where it feels like it's worth it. But when it does, it looks so good.
It's the biggest, most expensive piece of crap skill you can put your money into, but it's like that's the only thing sometimes. Like there's a lot of times where just if you don't have that sprint, you're just not going to be able to make the play.
I mean, I've said before, right? You take the Beast, right? Spamalot's halfback. You take it to 97 sprinting, pedestrian halfback. You put it at 100, the greatest of all time, right? Like, sprinting is absolutely worthless until a switch flips, and then it's the best possible stat you can have. And there's no in between of that. There's just a point somewhere that exists that you have to know where it is.
Do you think that that's necessarily that sweet spot that you're kind of talking about, or also like some of the other skills that go with it? You know, like balance, for instance. You know, and conditioning. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a good amount of balance and conditioning. Otherwise, I personally don't think that 100 speed's gonna be as successful as a lower amount of speed with the balance and the conditioning.
Well, essentially, it's both is the answer, right? You need the sprinting, but you have to keep in mind, right, that a build isn't complete with just 100 sprinting, right? I could rush to 100 sprinting on a halfback, but it would still be a slow halfback. So much of what makes you fast, right, is maintaining balance and maintaining energy. If I did 100 sprinting but 20 balance, I might as well be a 60 sprinting halfback for all that's worth, because I'm always going to be off balance. I'm never going to be taking good turns, So all that sprinting, what is it actually doing for me? It's needing the whole package that makes sprinting so hard to make work early on, because that's the same thing with Meyer's team, right? I could have 80 sprinting in sophomore, sure, but if I can't turn, well, that doesn't do me any good, right? Like, defenses don't run in straight lines, So it's needing to get all that in a row that makes it take so long.
And that comes with experience and or listening to veterans that have been there, If you're a new player, relatively inexperienced coach, right, it's going to take you some time if you try to do this on your own, it's going to take you some time, some seasons of experimenting, So, again, this is my pitch, we're here putting a hand out to help, to guide you along the way, to grow this community and make it competitive, because even for us, it is fun when it's competitive. Yeah, we like to win, but we really I don't think any of us like to win by blowing other teams out. For me, the most fun is winning a hard fought battle, so it benefits us to have more competition.
Yeah, I've been on record before saying that my motivations for establishing Academy are purely selfish, right? Because winning a league, that doesn't really mean much if, you're the only top dog there and you're just hoarding all your information and you're using that to win, right? Winning only means something if you had to actually beat the people you were playing against, Okay. So the better everybody else is, the more fun it is for me, ultimately, to play the game.
Adder or Raid, before we move on to Dallas, Adder or Raid, either of you have anything you want to pitch in?
I'll tell you the reason why I, do this whole trying to help other players out and stuff like that is because I hate doing stuff. I just like building players. I like making things that are fun. I want other people to do stuff. So if I can get other people to learn how to do stuff, then I don't have to do it.
You've done a good job coaching your teams, Raid, and you've shared a wealth of knowledge about with your builds. I mean, Alex was talking about earlier how you build the most impressive regular halfbacks. I would even say you build some pretty damn good superstar halfbacks. I remember when Saquon and who was your star running back that battled with Saquon? Do you remember?
No.
No.
It's been a while. I can't remember if that was.
No problem, man. Adder, you got anything to add, my friend?
The only thing that I would say for Kentucky is, like Hera was saying last time, look where the stars are used. It's a lot of the same spots you're seeing on these teams as we're going up the list of the top three, where defensive line, free safety, tight end, wide receiver, and halfback on pretty much every team.
Excellent point.
All right, guys, I'm going to hop out. It's been good.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Looking forward to next time. I'm going to try to do vet tomorrow. I don't know. I'll contact you guys on Discord to see who's around tomorrow, if we can find a time, if people are available, where we're doing these more in-depth, like with a round table. I just want to focus on like one a day. So we've just got vet left. So I will reach out and try to circle up as many of y'all as I can. But we're just going to still going to talk about Dallas and Atlantic City Community College. It's a bummer you're going, because I would have enjoyed your input on Atlantic City Community College. Ty's been complaining a lot in the forums, although he's sitting at 7-2. So I would have be interested to hear some of your commentary. So maybe I'll tell you.
I'm always for commentary, but yeah.
Yes, you are. Maybe tomorrow, if you can join us tomorrow. Maybe I'll take a little piece of tomorrow's to give you your opportunity to talk about Atlantic City Community College.
Sounds good. I'll catch you guys.
Take care. All right, so I still got Adder and Rave with me, correct?
Yep.
Correct. And then we have Rabbit Blizzard and Gads are both here as well if they like to interact.
Hey, yes, Rabbit, Gads, great. Thank you for popping in. If you want to say anything, when one of us isn't, spouting off, just hop on. Totally encouraged. Thank you for joining us. So with that said and done, we are going to look at Dallas. I said Dallas is next on the Price is Right. Dallas is owned by Dallas Cowboy fan. He does the offense. I do the defense. It's kind of a neat team to look at. Right now, it is an all-run team, right? The investment is all the superstar is invested in the running game, right? On defense, there are no superstars, right? It is a germ 73 specialist man defense. Like I said, we've battled it out with Stream Team so far, growing, with this group of agents. I don't know how well my defense is going to hold up in my starless defense will hold up in vet, but it's been a fun ride so far. They are the reigning champs. They did beat Stream Team last year. So with that said and done, I can take questions, or any of the roundtable can kind of speak up and talk to their experiences, either playing against or what they see from the Cowboys.
Cowboys are the land of run tag. I will just say that for defense, if you're playing against them, you better be run tag, because they're going to run on you all day if you don't.
Yeah, DCF plans on switching that up in vet. He has another Dallas team as well. So it'll be, and he'll probably do some. I would encourage him, if that's what he's going to do, if he's going to go more balanced, I would encourage him to use that free respec, on his line, maybe a little bit, and definitely on his receivers and tight ends. But he might bring in receivers and tight ends from his other team. So that will change going into vet.
I don't necessarily know if he even needs to.
I think he might be getting a little bored with the one-trick pony. I know that when I've done all-run teams, I can't do all-run or all-pass. That's why another reason why I love balance. I I just get bored of the same thing over again and again and again. I like a little
That makes
variety
sense.
in my life.
Strictly in terms of power and the way the team's set up, if somebody isn't exactly like game planning for this team, it will just run you over. There will be no willy won'ty. It'll just be congratulations, your team just lost. That's the kind of team this is. If you're not game planning, you just go into it with the default playbook.
Yeah, but I think DCF wants to win championships. He wants to win a vet championship, and I don't think, like, at vet, the caliber of the coaches that have followed all the way to vet, like you mentioned, tag heaven, that is a spectacular weakness for his offense, is against, like, the top teams. I don't think that this team can beat a riff at that, when riffs in vet spam a lot. Teams like that. As good as this team is, being one dimensional, I think that's a huge weakness.
I'd be interested in seeing what the wide receivers end up, or if there's a faster wide receiver that gets brought in, how that works. So that'll be a fun team to watch going forward.
I think it's largely going to depend on how this deflection thing kind of shakes down going down the line. Because right now, halfback screens are largely in trouble because of how easy it is for a defender to get a hand up and just bat that ball away. But with the way that speedier receivers are able to operate and still catch the ball, I've also noticed that speedier halfbacks are able to catch the ball really easy going out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And as we have, as that develops, it may open up the chances for kind of a short passing game revitalization, which seems weird with the high deflection things going on, because, you'd think with that it's going to be all deep ball all the time. But, because of the fact that the halfbacks are catching it so easily, and these receivers, that when they get a little bit of zone or a little bit of room, are actually grabbing it in stride, I think that there is the room for that shorter pass game to also kind of come into play. And this team would be one that could kind of take real advantage of that if they kept their halfbacks fresh, rotated out, and just had that chance to kind of lob a deep one up to the halfback every once in a while. And it may be one of their receivers that they've got that can have those kind of, shorter route abilities.
Yep. I was going to say, you were mentioning deflect. Yeah, we hit the jackpot with the deflection, because this is a heavy deflection team. Not having the superstars on the defense, right? And when I talked about specialists earlier, right, I definitely learned from some of my comrades. Like I have run stop and I have passing DEs, right? I prefer my defensive tackles to kind of clog up the middle, because I know that a lot of people like to run up the middle. So that's kind of what I've done with the defensive line here. I have coverage and blitzing linebackers, because lately I've been kind of having fun playing around with the 6-man blitz. Again, something this old dog is actually learning some new tricks from you all. And then even the secondary, I'm learning even more like footwork, and try to keep the play in front of them. Anyone else want to talk about the Cowboys? Hearing none.
Just a really, really solid team, and it'll be interesting to see what the changes are going forward.
It's been a really fun collaboration. I forgot who it was that talked earlier, or it was yesterday or earlier. I think it was earlier, and it might have been Adder, that talked about, like, the fun part of this game is playing with other people, and I like that. I love that. Like, program has been one of my favorite experiences. Stream team has been one of my favorite experiences. And now this is just DCF and me, but I've also enjoyed just having the opportunity to collaborate with somebody. Like, hey, you run the offense, I'll run the defense, and And then I look at Alex and Adder. You guys have this great partnership. So collaboration is fun as well.
Yeah, having somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off of. Without that, I wouldn't be in the game yet. That's the best part of the game for me.
Hey, Adder, even if he tells you you're wrong all the time,
that's my job, right?
Just teasing him, but it is true. But you guys have a great.
Gotta come up with stupid ideas to get the good ones once in a while.
All right, with that said and done, now for the fun part of this segment, let's take a look at Atlantic City Community College. Right, Ty has been around for a while. Maybe not quite as long as some of us. But
he's a very, very early user.
Yeah. His team is sitting at 7-2, yet he is doing a lot of complaining. And he's not the only one. But a lot of complaining in the forums. So he's doing well though. Let's take a look at his team. Right? He's pretty much doing it himself. Maybe I know he hasn't had the best of luck with other agents, like agents dropping out and like their builds not being with his builds, because in my experience with Ty, because I have collaborated with Ty a little bit in the past, he, a lot like GE, has his own ideas and opinions on builds, right? Both dot builds and team builds. So I value that. I think that that's good that we all don't use a cookie cutter approach. But I do think that, one thing where he's, I forget the forum title, constantly outperformed, right? I think it is the forum title that he started. I think part of the reason, I could be wrong, I haven't lifted the hood and looked under the hood, but could be builds. I don't think he has bad builds, but I don't think they are necessarily optimal builds. And for me, myself, I could still improve my builds. I wanted to look at, he only has 4 superstars, so 5 superstars. So 5's better than none, right? But he's competing against teams. He's competing against teams with a whole hell of a lot more than 5 superstars. And last but not least, and then I'm going to let you guys chime in. Tucker. Sorry about that. My dog in the background. I think the mailman is delivering the mail. So I apologize for the shrill barking. Let me bring up his plays. Oh yeah, so his only 2 losses, by the way, 7-2. His only 2 losses are to Steroid Sloths and Riff. So I wouldn't say that he's constantly underperforming. Let's look at the defense first. His defense, I think he calls. It's a lot of blitz actually. But depending on what he's calling these against, I think his defense might be his strength, right? Because these defensive plays, depending on what he's calling them against, don't look too shabby to me. And let's go where the one area that I looked at where I was like, that I questioned possibly where it might be some improvement in game calling is it's fine to use these, but mix in some single back big tight end flags. I like that. I think that single back tight end post is fine. The goal line tight end flags, play action scissors. So maybe I'm off on that. What do you guys think about Atlantic City Community College?
I think he's committed the cardinal sin, and that I don't mean a land war in Asia in winter. He doesn't have a superstar halfback.
Oh, valid point. Let's look at his. That would help tremendously, yeah.
Like, you want a passing game? the best way to get a passing game is to have a running game. And especially in GLB, it's all about the halfback for setting everything up.
Yeah, and if you're not going to have, as Alex said earlier, if you're not going to have a superstar halfback, you should have two raid halfbacks.
I mean, he has two halfbacks, but he honestly could have even taken a third one, and I still don't know if it would have made a difference. And it's just because it's that important. If you don't have the superstar tight end or the wide receiver, like, you're basically required to have a superstar halfback in most team makeups. It's just that important. The other thing that I know is probably not in his idea with the offensive tackles being superstar. I find the offensive line doesn't really matter for most sacks. The offensive line just has to stall long enough, and you can get there with normal builds without depth even for some teams. It's more about the quarterback and how quickly the tight ends and wide receivers get off the line. So in that regard, I think his team would be drastically better if he had superstar defensive tackles.
And a superstar halfback.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to just basically this one thing. His team is fantastically coached. He calls the right plays. He makes the right calls when he's, doing things on offense and defense. And he's listening to people in terms of like getting his coaching, on par to like even the top people in the game. But, when you have at this game, when it comes down to builds, there's basically one major thing that you have to do. You either have to, two. You either have to win consistently, or you have to be able to weather the times when you can't. And when you have two halfbacks who aren't or neither one of them is a superstar, that is really difficult to do on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Back when Brace for Impact used to take away 100% of the impact, if you did two halfbacks that were taking advantage of that, it was still doable. But right now, you need someone to be a fire starter in your backfield, and you need someone to kind of be that tinder to kind of catch fire. And without a superstar, it's really hard to build somebody who's going to be a fire starter and then is still going to be able to contribute throughout the rest of the game, because you have to sacrifice so much to get the break tackle ability, the just break ankle ability.
I agree. One thing that I'm seeing, he's got those two superstar OTs, right? But he doesn't call many off-tackle runs. I would think if you got two superstar OTs, right? You'd be calling a lot more OT runs. I have to watch. I'm gonna have to watch some of his games. To actually see the team play to get a better idea. I don't have enough information to kind of speak to this, but just looking at his roster and the scouting report, I'm like, two superstar OTs and you don't run off tackle very much. What was his breakdown? He is 70-30 pass to run, but still, picking up, not getting yourself in those long down situations, right? Even if you're going to be a predominantly passing team, setting yourself up for those shorter passes, like 5 yards and less, or even if it's 3rd and 8. 3rd and 8 is a hell of a lot better than 3rd and long. For if you're going to pass on, it doesn't look like he runs too much on. He probably passes on 3rd, I bet. Let's do a quick check. 3rd.
He would probably be better suited to getting in a position where he can actually make some of these completions. He has a 46% completion rate on his quarterback. And like I said, that has a lot to do with the wide receivers more than anything else.
Yeah. There it is right there. 3rd down, 3rd and long, right? 9 and greater, I call long, right? 3rd and long, 95% pass, right? And if we look at his completion rate, right? Well, he's got 1, 2, 3 passes that are at 50%, but that's got to be bringing his pass ratio.
Can you hit the completion percent and see if he's got any plays that are working well, if they're all kind of similar?
He's got those are only 1 and 2, so I don't know how significantly.
It's all pretty similar then.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we know it's not smart. It's not smart to try to pass on 3rd and long, right? Gonna come. So that could be part of the issue. So, but anyways, yeah. I just wanted to look at it because I got a kick out of him in the forums, coming across so frustrated when his only 2 losses are to 2 pretty damn good teams so far in Steroid Sloths and Riff. Hell, I played against Riff today, a scrimmage with DL Kurtz, NW Dragons, and we got our butts thrashed. So losing to Riff. That's an optimized team with incredible coaches. So optimized builds, player builds, as well as team build, right? And great coaching. So there's nothing to be ashamed of losing the Riff. Like I said, I'm not ashamed. I got my ass beat this morning.
Well, you also have to consider that Riff is journeyman right now instead of pro. But one thing that you kind of touched on there was the off-tackle runs. And it can kind of actually be difficult to establish off-tackle runs if the tackles are your only superstars on the line. That seems like it would be, like a home run. You run it right behind the tackle, read it off him. But the things that really screw you up on an off-tackle run are the blockers next to him, the tight end, and the off-tackle or the guard.
I think you just got to call the right off-tackle runs. I've had some pretty good success with, but I also have star running backs. So
I think it's also team design as well. His team is clearly designed to be a pass-first team, and those are protection tackles. And with everybody sending 6, I don't care how good your line is, you're still going to get sacked. There's 5 blockers, there's 6 blitzers. If your wide receivers aren't getting to the points where they need to catch the ball, you're just going to get sacked. And if you don't get sacked, it's happening so quick your wide receivers are 2-3 yards from the line of scrimmage sometimes. And that's just a recipe for disaster.
Oh yeah, that happened this morning. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give these guys a game, right? I'm gonna bring out my anti-6-man blitz offense, with the big and big eye. I don't even think I even used any 2 wide receiver sets. I just think I went all big and big eye. So I'm gonna put bodies on the line, and your line was still just knifing through us. Freaking like a hot knife through butter. So, I definitely... So I could see where he would have a little bit of an argument in that I've got these superstar offensive tackles. They shouldn't be able to blow through me like they do, but it's an extra body too, that when a lot of these teams are sending six people and 6 superstars, 6 superstars. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. I hope that he doesn't get too frustrated because he is as we said, he's a
7-2 coach. He's not bad.
Exactly.
The things we're saying, these are very nitpicky, smaller, design choice things. And maybe he has a reason where he doesn't want to do it, where it's, like you said, for DCF, he just gets bored of it and he wants to do something different. That could be the same thing for this team. We don't know. But he's a good coach. He doesn't have a lot of superstars, and he's putting up a good record. So,
exactly.
I just also know that it's extremely easy to get the skills that you need to be a decent pass blocker, and then it's all about getting the ball out before the blitz can get to you, because a blocker can only hold up one guy. So really, in all reality, in pass blocking, a superstar on the offensive line is almost wasted. Like, the reason to get that superstar there is so that we can have somebody who's solid in the pass blocking and also a prolific run blocker. Because you can get somebody who's solid in the pass blocking and then holds up in the run game without a superstar pretty easily.
Yeah,
I will say a pass blocker superstar needs to be built completely different than normal, pass blocker. If you have a pass blocking superstar, they basically need to be able to block two players. That's the idea you need to have when you make them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that that's just viable to do consistently. Like, most of the time, you're just going to pick up one guy. Like, you can pick that guy up really well and embarrass him pretty bad, but you're just...
Isn't there an SA that lets you block? Maybe not. If there isn't an SA that lets you block two, that'd be a cool SA.
Wide load doesn't let you block two, but it does slow down the open blitzer.
There we go. That's why.
The other one is a strong arm, because you push people way the heck off, and then they can engage with the second person. So both of those are considered not good SAs, but again, with a superstar offensive line where they're pass blockers, you need to do something completely different from what you normally do, because pass blocking skills are all about just lasting long enough for the quarterback to throw to the wide receiver. You don't need to absolutely dominate that line, you just need to lose slow.
And I think that's probably what Ty was aiming for, with those two superstar OTs. He was hoping, okay, if I super it up. But the problem is, as you said earlier, people are sending 6, and their lines, their D line, some of these teams that he's losing to, their D lines are these superstar OTs are having to face off against superstar D linemen, so that kind of negates it. Even more so because, as we've talked about, I think the D linemen have the advantage over the O linemen at the moment.
And it's the way it should be for pass blocking in particular. How often do you see a pass play happen and the quarterback sits back there for 6 seconds? You just don't really see it.
Yeah,
and it's just all about how long can we go and make it lose the slowest amount possible.
Good point. Well, closing remarks, my friends. Any closing remarks?
I'm interested in seeing what Ty does with this as we go up further. He's going to start getting to the point where the builds are going to be finished probably halfway to 3/4 of the way through the season, and then it's just that last little bit.
I agree, totally.
I'll get featured in one of these next season, I swear. My team will get stronger, somehow.
Very good, then. Thank you guys for joining me. I will catch up with you in Discord. I'd like to do the vet review tomorrow, kind of wrap up this series, and then maybe do some planning for future content. So, thanks for joining me for the ride.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for inviting all of us.
Take care, guys.